This is Nick Fury, super spy extraordinaire, mastermind behind the Avengers, and a man with very specific rules about eating toast. He's also secretly been a shapeshifting alien for far longer than any of us had realized. Welcome to Explainiac. I'm Dan Casey, and today we're seeking an answer to a very important question. One that contains a major spoiler for Spider-Man Far From Home if you somehow haven't seen that yet. When exactly did the Skrull operative Talos replace Nick Fury in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? This shocking reveal came in the post-credit scene for Spider-Man Far From Home, when Nick Fury and Maria Hill were revealed to have secretly been Talos and his wife Soren in disguise the entire time. The actual Nick Fury is off-world on a space station, presumably drinking zero-G Mai Tais and commanding SWORD, the interstellar counterpart to S.H.I.E.L.D., but that is a story for another episode. What we want to know is when Talos and Soren exactly took over for Nick Fury and Maria Hill. And to find our answers, we're gonna have to pull from several popular fan theories and put them under the microscope. All of them point to the fact that Talos has been operating undercover as Nick Fury for far longer than the events of Far From Home. According to Redditor Jacob Wallace, Talos replaced Fury sometime between the events of Captain America the Winter Soldier and before Avengers Age of Ultron. When Fury was shot during the Winter Soldier, he needed time to recover, but our foolish Earth medicine wasn't advanced enough to save him. Also, he doesn't have insurance. So that spiel he gives about using a chemical to reduce his heart rate was apparently a big old lie, at least according to the theory. Rather, Fury went to outer space to recuperate while Talos assumed his duties on Earth. Now don't worry, there is some evidence to back this up. As you may recall, Nick Fury first encountered the Skrulls during the events of Captain Marvel during the 1990s. Classically considered to be villains in the Marvel Comics canon, the shape-shifting alien Skrulls turned out to be an ailing alien refugee race on the run from the murderous Kree. Aided by Fury and Captain Marvel, they evidently became allies over the years that followed. But there's one crucial detail that occurs in Captain Marvel. Nick Fury mentions a very specific and very weird detail about himself to Carol Danvers in case she ever needed to definitively prove whether or not he himself was a Skrull. That detail is that he can't eat toast if it's cut diagonally. He can't. All right, we all have our things, I guess. Flash forward, though, to Avengers Age of Ultron, and what is Nick Fury clearly seen eating in Hawkeye's secret farm kitchen? That's right, diagonally sliced toast. That's not just a smoking gun, it's a vaping cannon. Another Redditor, Sex Machine, nice, adds further fuel to this fire by pointing out that Maria Hill consistently calls Nick Fury Nick, when in Captain Marvel he claims that everyone calls him Fury. Now this allegedly helps prove that Maria Hill was Soren in disguise alongside Talos, who might not know this fun nomenclature thing and these toast details that really comprise the entire rich tapestry that makes up Nick Fury. Now, according to this theory, it was Talos, not Nick Fury, who got dusted during the blip. Another piece of speculation is when the snapping begins to happen during the post-credit scene of Avengers Infinity War, Nick Fury says, "Call control, code red." He's not asking for Mountain Dew, he's referring to the spaceship that we see the real Nick Fury on in the post-credit scene of Far From Home. Now, Talos tells Peter Parker that he saw him at the funeral, which means that he's at least been undercover as Nick Fury since Avengers Endgame, or it means the real Nick Fury briefed him exceptionally well, which kind of tracks given that he's a damn super spy. However, given the influx of Avengers-level threats that have been coming from outer space since the 90s, it stands to reason that at least after the Battle of New York, Fury might have devised plans to create a S.H.I.E.L.D. equivalent for off-world threats and accelerated those plans in the wake of his injury in Winter Soldier. Plus, during Fury's encounter with Tony Stark in Hawkeye's secret barn, that guy loves a farm that's off the grid, he says something a little suspicious. "Back in the day, I had eyes everywhere, ears everywhere else. You kids had all the tech you could dream up. Now here we all are, back on Earth with nothing but our wit and our will to save the world." It's that "here we all are, back on Earth" part that stands out in particular. Is he maybe just referencing Tony's PTSD-inducing trip into space to destroy the Chitauri? Or is he perhaps alluding to the fact that he's a shape-shifting Skrull in disguise who's returned to Earth one more time? Sounds compelling enough, right? Well, if it's true, it raises plenty of questions. Case in point, the Captain Marvel two-way intergalactic pager now available at Radio Shack. Carol Danvers gave it to Nick Fury in case of emergency at the end of Captain Marvel, and Fury used it at the very end of Infinity War to summon Carol to help the Avengers defeat Thanos in Endgame. If the real Fury were off-world, then why did Talos have the pager? Seems like a pretty valuable device just to hand off to your doppelganger. And when did they make this switcheroo anyway? Did it happen during the events of Captain Marvel 2? Is that when the handoff happened? When did the pager go from Nick Fury to Talos? Only time will tell. Plus, when Carol Danvers makes her triumphant return to Earth in the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel, she doesn't ask for Talos, she asks for Fury. If the real Nick Fury had been out in space creating S.W.O.R.D. this whole time, I don't know, something tells me that Carol would probably be aware of that fact because she's like space cop number one. And last but not least, while most people simply call Nick Fury Fury, Cap does refer to him as Nick before Bucky shoots Nick outside of his apartment. So look, it's not an airtight theory, but in order of likelihood, I would say that Fury and Talos made the switcheroo after the events of Avengers Endgame, but potentially as early as the period between the Winter Soldier and Age of Ultron. But without more data on our side, it's honestly impossible to say with any degree of certainty in the meantime. But tell me, what do you think? When do you think that Nick Fury was replaced by Talos? And what is Nick Fury actually doing out on that space station? Let me know in the comments below and shapeshift your hand into a thumbs up while you're there. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please share this video with your friends and hit that little notification bell so you never miss a new episode of Explainiac. If you want even more Marvel, then make sure you check out past Explainiac episodes right now, which you can view on all of Nerdist's channels. And remember, not everything in life can be explained, but for everything else, there's this show.